Let me tell you about the most dangerous person in your life. It's not your critic. It's not your enemy. It's not that family member you're thinking of right now. The most dangerous person in your life is the one who reports to you every single day about who you are, what happened, and why, and has never once been fact checked. It's you. It's the voice doing your narration. Last week, I showed you that your thoughts are building your life and that willpower has never been the right weapon. Renewal is. If you missed that episode, go back. It's the foundation. But tonight, we start the six dimensions, and we started where God starts awareness. Because here's the problem nobody wants to say out loud: you cannot renew what you cannot see. And I'm going to show you tonight with scripture and with science that you see far less than you think you do. Five things tonight. The first two will humble you a little in a good way. The third one is going to explain arguments you've had, decisions you've made, and pain you've carried in one single sentence. And the fourth one, stay for the fourth one because it's difference between self-examination that heals you and self-examination that destroys you. Most people have only ever been taught the destructive kind. That's why they quit looking. And at the end, I'll put a mirror in your hands, free, 8 minutes. It'll show you what the narrators have been hiding. I'm Dwayne Dwyer, the mindset coach. This is Coach's Corner. Let's learn how to see.
Hey, mindset shift, go. Yeah, we locked in tight. Clean heart, new life. Bass hit, feel right. Fake talk all night. Coach's Corner wave. We don't drift, we brave. Pressure make praise. We don't chase, we pray. Mindset Academy. Built on legacy. Turn pain to recipe. Now it's joy and energy. Hands up, no fear. New steps right here. If you hear that call, you can stand up tall. From the fight to the win. Yeah. Let the change begin. Mindset shift, go. Renew your mind, go. We move with the light. We shine in the night. Mindset shift, go. Renew your mind, go. Coach's Corner sound make the whole room bounce. Hey, kingdom in my talk, purpose in my walk. Always cut off, new grace won't stop. Hustle with a halo, peace when the days cold. Joy in my payload, hope in my base load. The mindset go speak, truth make me leap. Heart set on me, but my praise go deep. From the head to the feet, let it all.
Good evening, and welcome to this week's episode of Coach's Corner. As said previously, my name is Dwayne Dwyer. I go by the Mindset Coach, and let me be the first to say that it is always an honor to be able to, share in conversation with you guys. I miss you every day. I don't have the opportunity to speak with you. So that being said, listen, regardless of wherever you are, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on Instagram, whether you're on LinkedIn, it doesn't really matter. Get in the comment section. Let us know that you're here tonight because we want to acknowledge you by name. We appreciate you being here. We value your presence. You can be anyplace else, but you chose to be here tonight, and we do not take that lightly. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for paying us with your time. Now, that said, listen, like I said previously, I hope you've seen last week's conversation because that conversation is the foundation of everything that we're going to talk about here. And so I want you to understand that we're going to continue to build, right? We're going to build from week to week. And so if you miss one, that's fine. Just go back and look at it. That way you don't skip out on anything, because if you miss one of them, it's out of order and then you're going to get it mixed up in your head. So I think it's important for us to recognize that and to move forward. Now, again, as you've seen, today's title is You Can't Renew What You Can't See. Now, I got it. We've been, some of us have been reading the Bible for years, and we've seen the Bible said to renew your mind. And some people, we kind of struggle with what that really means. How do I renew my mind? And if I can't speak for you, but that was my question when I was a young man, in the church. And I actually went to one of my pastors and I asked him a question. I said, hey, this scripture says that I need to renew my mind. How do I do that? And the response that he gave me was kind of alarming because I knew instantly that when he gave me that response, that just can't be it. That could not have been the response. So I was not satisfied with that response. Now, some of you may say, well, just because you're not satisfied with it does not necessarily make it right. But something deep in my spirit told me that that was not the right answer. And that's kind of like what we're going to get after as we have tonight's conversation. So dig in, grab a pen and a piece of paper. Again, put your comments in the comment section. Make sure that you ask your questions in the comment section. This is an interactive show. So it doesn't matter what the question is. We make sure that we entertain all questions on this show. So as we begin, I want everybody to understand that everyone has a blind spot, and nobody thinks think it's they really don't think about them, right? And so what does that really mean in general? So everybody understand blind spots. We all have them. No one is exempt from them, right? Blindness about ourselves is not a character flaw, regardless of what you believe or what anybody has ever told you. It is not a character flaw. It's literally comes standard with the equipment. It's like buying a car. And there are certain things that come standard with that car. Air condition. These days, power windows, whatever in my younger days, power windows weren't standard. So those are standard things that come with that vehicle. So what the thing that comes with this thing right here, this flesh that I exist in, one of the standards is having blind spots. It is what it is. There's no way we can get around that. But the question is never whether you have blind spots. The question is whether you stop looking for them. And I think sometimes we fall into that category. We accept it is what it is. And then we call the blind spot or the, not so much as called a blind spot itself, but call our purview, right, to include the blind spot. We call it our perspective. So even though I have a blind spot about this thing, this is how I see the world. Therefore, that's my perspective minus the blind spot. And I believe as long as I accept that to be a truth, a truth, a true statement for me, then I can fall into a particular trap that can be detrimental for me in the long run. Now, I really do love what Daniel Kahneman says here. We can be blind to the obvious, and we are also blind to our blindness. And Daniel Kahneman is he is a Nobel Prize winning psychologist. And this quote came from a book, Thinking Fast and Slow. A man won, think about this, a man literally won the Nobel Prize for proving what scripture said all along. We don't just miss things, we miss the fact that we're missing them. Now, process that. Like, exercise some metacognition in this regard. We don't just miss things; we miss the fact that we're missing them. Okay. Now, statistically speaking, I think this kind of plays in it as well because it's. I want us to kind of like take something as simple as driving in regard to this. In a classic study by a Swedish researcher, Ola Svensson, in 1981, 93% of American drivers rated themselves as more skilled than the average driver. Now, if we do the math, 93% cannot be above average. That's not confidence. That's blindness with a seatbelt on. Now, I know somebody that's just thinking, they're like, wait, 93% is above average, but it's 93% of the people who did the survey, right? So, and sure, that's a sample, and ideally, we can conclude that 93% of the population, the American population, has came to that conclusion as well. But it can't be above. It can't be above average. It just can't. Not honestly. See, that's blindness. I said C, not the name, and she wants to respond. But see, that's blindness with a seatbelt on. And if you recall last week's show, Urich's research said 95% of us believe we're self-aware to where only 10 to 15% of us actually are. Different study, but same human, same flesh. And so I think it's important for us to realize that if blind spots come standard with the equipment, I wonder how many of us have ever asked the question, why? Why is that the case? Why do we come equipped with blind spots? Well, I believe blind spots are there to keep us humble. But I also believe that we have thwarted the blind spot from our reality. Therefore, now that thing which is there to keep me humble is not necessarily keeping me humble until someone shows me that I have a blind spot. But then that also means that I have to be open to what they're saying. I think blind spots are created to keep you humble. And if awareness by default is the beginning of the renewal process, then I think for the most part, blind spots inherently require us to need other people. So I cannot honestly, succinctly, in with any degree of integrity say that isolation is a facet of my life, especially if blind spots exist. Now, I know there are periods of time where we have to go into isolation because there's some things being worked out in me. But even in that isolation phase, there still should be a couple of people who are touch points for me, people who can provide feedback and share some things with me to help me understand something that I did not consider in that piece, like doing metacognition about what's going on with my life, self reflection, introspection, all those other great things. I still need touch points. And those touch points help me to organize these thoughts that I'm having in what can be perceived as a chaotic moment for me. But for you, I got a question for you. Now, if you guys don't remember, that's what Coach's Corner is. It's me giving an answer to a question that actually should bring clarity to the talking point, but then me turning around and asking you questions as well, not for you to put the answer in the comment section. By all means, you can, but it's not a requirement. Okay. But by all means, yes, share your responses. So the question for you is, think of the last time someone gave you feedback that stung, not just feedback, oh, nice shirt. No, that's not the feedback I'm talking about. I'm talking about feedback that really got up under your rib cage and hit, that type of feedback. Think about that. And then I want you to consider your very first instinct, whether it was to explain why you were wrong, whether it was to justify your position, right? Titles together, right? And I don't want you to judge the awareness of your response. Just find it. What if that sting wasn't an insult at all, but a blind spot being touched? A blind spot that I can say that you have guardrails, protectors, guards around to protect it because you don't want anybody else to see it. So I want you to kind of process that, consider that. That's like a thing for you because I think everybody, I don't care who you are, this includes me. This question is not exempt. No one is exempt from this question, right? Process that question. Let it sit in. Let it hit home because I think that's where awareness begins. See, a lot of us are conditioned to automatically defend the thing and we can't see that we do the thing. Some of us are conditioned to pick up the phone and call people and have conversations with people. And the person on the other end of the phone is like, why are you telling me this? I don't, you know. Now the other person on the other end is they have their own degree of blame. I don't want to use the word blame, but blame is good here. They have their own thing because at some point I have a responsibility to say, hey, I don't need to know all that. But I'm talking about the person who initiates the phone call, the person who initiates the conversation, inviting that other person into an arena that may not necessarily be for them, right? We can do several examples in this. Husband and wife, male and female significant other in conversation, one share feedback on what they see and the other person is defensive. The other person is trying to protect their version of life, but yet they're sharing life with the other person. And then we have these things where you can't, I'm not doing it. If I'm not making a correction, you don't get to dictate the time, whatever the case may be. So I'm just painting the picture because I don't want you to leave any stone unturned. When was the last time somebody gave you feedback about you that you automatically started explaining? The explanation is just as bad as the justification. In fact, the explanation is the justification. You cannot justify the thing that you did. That justification is not our position. I'm sorry. Justification is not our position. You were not created to justify. Justify belongs to him. Go back and look at what the scriptures say. For those he foreknew, he predestined. He predestinated. And for those whom he predestinate, he justified. He justified. Not me, not you. Do not give excuses when someone is giving you feedback. Feedback is free. Feedback is probably one of the best things that make us a fully functioning society. And for some odd reason, we have lost the thirst for good, honest feedback. In fact, we live in a world to where we will curate our surroundings based upon the type of feedback that I get. Do you give me the feedback that I want? I'm going to bring you closer to me. You give me the feedback I don't want, but maybe need, I'm going to push you away because I don't want you to help me grow. I want you to accept me for who I am. No, 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 no. And listen, I'm not shooting at anybody. I'm just being completely transparent. If you're the type of person who believes that people should accept you for who you are, you have lost the desire to become who you were created to be. That's what I really and truly do believe. You have in your mind, you really believe that who you are right now is who you were created to be. That's not even logical. Let that set in for a second. Okay, I've beat that horse long enough. I think it's time for us to move on to number two. And point number two, I think, is a good one, because what we have to understand is that your blind spot, your blindness isn't passive. Something is guarding it, right? I know I kind of put the wagon before the horse. Don't judge me. Something is guarding it. And I think we've heard some of it. We kind of got a glimpse of it before. The harder truth, your blind spots aren't just gaps. They're like missing pages, if you will. Something in you actively maintains them. The heart doesn't merely fail to report, it edits the report. I'll do it again. The heart doesn't merely fail to report, it edits the report. Jeremiah said it, and with no anesthesia did he say it. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? You'll find that in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 17, verse 9. Deceitful, that's an active word. The heart has a public relations department, if you think about it. Now, I also believe that when we look at Richard Feynman, and we've heard of Richard Feynman before because we brought some amazing quotes on here that he said. The first principle is that you must not fool yourself, and you are the easiest person to fool. Now, Richard Feynman, another Nobel Prize winning physicist, this was from his Caltech commencement in 1974. He said that to scientists. Let me say it again. This was his commencement to a bunch of scientists. And for the most part, I think we can conclude or come to some type of realization that scientists exist in the thinking department. That's what they do. In fact, some may consider them to be the most rigorous thinkers on earth because they're constantly thinking. They're constantly trying to solve problems. They're constantly trying to discover. That's interesting. Even the most rigorous minds protect what they'd rather not see. And I wonder how many of us, by virtue of us not being as rigorous of a thinker as a scientist, someone who does it for a profession, I wonder how many of us have been protecting our own self-identity. And I said it that way intentionally, self-identity, right? Because I think that's the key. When we construct our identity based upon our understanding of what it is, then that's our self-identity. But when our identity is constructed based upon the way it was designed to be constructed, then it's our identity. And our identity now now reveals the best versions of who we're created to be. Not necessarily the best version of who you are right now today. Don't you realize that who you are today it grows and expands tomorrow. It should. I say it that way. Who you are today is one person, but the next day should be expansive. If I am still struggling with the same problems in 2026 that I had in 2025, that's a me problem. That's it. I can't blame no one else. I have been actively fighting against the feedback that somebody has been honestly trying to give me. And trust me, I get it. All of it doesn't feel good. Make your feelings not the most important thing in your life. Okay. Harvard researchers Killingsworth and Gilbert published in Science in 2010. Science is a magazine. Um, they used an app to ping thousands of people throughout their days and found that people's minds were wandering, thinking about something other than what they were doing. 47% of the time, about half the time that a person spends thinking, they're not even thinking about what they're doing. You're not even present in your own life. How do you catch a deceitful heart in the act when you're not even in the room? I think that's something that we all need to be consciously aware of. So, I guess my point as we move forward, why can two people sit in the same briefing, the same conference, the same church service, the same webinar, the same podcast, in one experience some degree of transformation? Because I don't believe you are transformed by being in there, but experience a degree of transformation while the others are untouched. Hmm. I think for the most part, in conjunction with everything we talked about thus far, blind spots, actively protecting the deceitful heart, I also believe that we're cherry picking information. We're trying to cherry pick the information that coincides with what my current thought patterns are. And if you give me the information that coincides with my current thought pattern, then now what I believe is that I can add that to what I currently know. Therefore, that will aid in transformation. It aids in the same path that you've carved for yourself. See, I've been told that, being in a room and hearing, the truth being spoken is like coaching to you. And unfortunately, that's not a true statement. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. That's not a true statement. This isn't coaching. Being in Bible study isn't coaching. Being showing up for hearts of men, the hearts of women, reframing the image of relationships, showing up for Coach's Corner. That's not coaching. Sorry. Coaching is the process of considering your thinking patterns, questioning them, identifying the assumptions that govern them, and then ask you, why is that the only route that you're choosing? Asking you some other things, some very difficult questions that you have to come up with a solution to. While all the while, the coach not necessarily giving you the solution. So they're not going to think for you. You have to do the thinking. There's a large degree of accountability that does not happen in these rooms. But make no mistake about it. When something is shared, it is awareness. This is not information. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Me sharing it at this level is just simply awareness. You processing it makes it information. Now, there has to be some other stuff done in order for it to become knowledge. And I think that's the key. Even at the level of knowledge, that's where coaching finds its gravity. I'll say it again. At the level of knowledge is where coaching finds its gravity. Does awareness happen in coaching? Absolutely. Does information happen in coaching? Absolutely. Gravity is found at the level of knowledge because we're talking about actioning the thing. See, taking bits and pieces, sound bites, going on TikTok, listen to a clip and say, oh, I'm going to add that to my life. You get excited by awareness. Even when you really stop and think about it, just being excited about awareness, there's a reason why you're excited about it. But then you stop the process. I'll say it again, you stop the process. It's not that awareness is not trying to work in you. You stop the process. So I want to, I get excited about these conversations. So I want to make sure that I kind of continue along the path because I want to make sure that I give you everything within this amount of time that we have allotted. So the question for you is, what's the one subject, a relationship, a habit, money, a decision from years ago, that whenever it comes up, you change it? Notice how fast, how smooth, and how automatic the change is. What might be living behind the door your heart keeps closing? See, being in a room with somebody sharing some new data with you, that's the first step. The awareness doesn't do the transformation alone. That's the key that we have to keep in mind. So I want you guys to kind of really sit with that, right? Really hang in there. Now, remember, number three is where it starts happening. Because here is the hard truth. And I want you guys to really process. You've never actually seen your life. You've only seen your map of it. Now, what do I mean when I say that? I want you to consider the first two talking points that we had, right? And I want you to start putting them together. You have blind spots. That's number one. And something is actively guarding it. That's number two. Here's what that means, though. And I need you to really hear it. You do not respond to reality. I'll say it again. You do not respond to reality. You respond to your map of reality. A map drawn years ago by cartographers that you've never vetted. See, who are the cartographers of your life? Well, your parents being one, maybe your favorite teacher, maybe some life experiences, maybe it's a pastor of a church or, an auntie or uncle, somebody you held in high regard, somebody who you never questioned anything that they told you. You just believed it because it was them. They're part of helping you to create that map. Words spoken over you as a child is some of the most powerful words that still stick with you today. Wounds that you've experienced, they've taught you what to expect. Failures that wrote themselves in as facts. I'm not good enough for that. Who do I think I am? I can't do that. This country doesn't look kindly on a person who looks like me. Although there may be some data out there, but who assigned the meaning for you? Did you assign the meaning, or did somebody else assign the meaning for you and you accepted it as the truth? See, when you in transition into a husband and a wife, when you and your spouse, if you will, argue, and it feels like you were in two different conversations, you were. You absolutely were. Two maps, one territory. For those of you who've been through that 8-week marriage teaching and Bible study, that I'm sure that was crystal clear to you. Two maps, one territory. Paul told us we are map readers, in essence. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 12, King James Version, of course, that's all I deal with. He said, "For now we see through a glass darkly." You're looking in a mirror. You got to think about it. You're looking in a mirror. You're seeing yourself as you were seen. Okay? The map itself, we have to remember, is not the territory. I'll say again, the map itself is not the territory. 5 words. The map is not the territory. The story in your head is not the life in front of you. And most people spend decades correcting the territory when it was the map that was broken. See, having an image, and I talk marriage first, having an image of marriage and what marriage truly is not the same thing. Having an image of parenthood and what parenting really is not the same thing. Having an image of relationships, all types of relationships, and what relationships really are is not the same thing. The world does not bend to your idea of reality. So when you attempt to create that reality, the only thing you're going to do is keep hitting a brick wall, and then you're going to blame everybody that you encounter for not folding to your interpretation of reality. That's interesting, to say the least. Like, I mean, put in the comment section. I'm just curious. Put in the comment section if you learned something so far. If something we talked about so far today, if something resonated with you thus far, put in the comment section. And if you would be so bold and kind, and if you do this second part, I commend your courage. What is that thing that resonated with you? Was it this particular talking point? Was it the fact that you have blind spots? Was it the fact that the heart protects the blind spots? Was it the fact that you've never seen life the way it really is? You've seen life the way that you mapped it. I really want to know where we are as it pertains to this, because this not only helps us, it helps yourselves. The Bible tells us that the saints overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the words of their testimony. So if you can own the fact, honestly, where you are as it pertains to this, then I really think this helps you to release it, let it go. I'm not embarrassed to tell people that I never knew this. No one ever told me this. No one ever taught me this type of information. No one ever shared something like this with me. All the while I'm thinking, I was good. All is well. I'm great. I don't have any issues, no concerns whatsoever. Interesting. Very interesting. So I think in a famous line of research, Nisbet and Wilson in 1977 showed that people confidently explain the reasons for their own choices. I say again, they show that people confidently explain the reasons for their own choices. And the explanations, pay attention, are frequently wrong. Experiments revealed the influences people flatly denied. We don't report our maps, we defend them, and we don't even know we're doing it. There's your one sentence. Every argument you've ever had was two maps fighting over one territory. So I think it's important for us to realize something. If someone's map was drawn by trauma, a father's absence, words a teacher said, divorce, the list goes on and on and on, by the way. Is that person responsible for a map they didn't draw? Yes. Yes. You're still responsible for your map. And here's the deal. The world don't care who mapped it for you. It is your responsibility. It is your life. And that's where we struggle in the space of relationship. We do not own the responsibility metric. Therefore, it is virtually impossible for me to be accountable. I can't even be accountable to somebody else if I'm not responsible to myself. Okay. Imagine buying a house and you have your property line, right? That defines your boundaries. And everything within your boundaries you're responsible for. Message. Everything within your boundaries you're responsible for. I don't cut my grass. I don't trim my hedges. I don't do anything. And you're my neighbor. At some point, you're going to be like, hey, man, can I holler at you real quick? You know, you kind of, you're foregoing your responsibility. We got to keep the neighborhood looking nice. Some of us got HOAs, and HOAs give citations for stuff like that, making sure that you own your level of responsibility. Well, if my responsibility, and keep in mind, the responsibility of the house doesn't end there. That's part of it. There's responsibilities inside the house. Pay attention. There's responsibilities inside the house as well as outside the house. See, a lot. Okay. It's not a beautification thing. It's a structural thing. The grass that's on my lawn, it actually is good for the structure of the home because it helps keep the external aspects of it keeps what is external to the foundation intact. Therefore, now the foundation is more stable. This is why it's not a good idea to build a house on sand. In fact, if you ever seen a beach house, it's not built on sand, it's built on pillars that's driven deep into a portion of the earth to where it's immovable. Now, I wouldn't put a house on stilts, but that's just me personally. But now do the mental gymnastics. The same thing that applies for the house also applies for you. You have a responsibility to clean the inside of your house, to maintain the inside of your house, to get it to a functional standard and then maintain it. But you also have a responsibility for the exterior as well, because the exterior provides stability for this doesn't change. It's important for us to pay attention. It is still your responsibility, even though you weren't responsible for mapping it out. Now, for you, I want us to kind of think into this one, right? I want you, yourself, and this may not necessarily be something that you can do right now, and that's okay. I want you to pick one belief that you hold about yourself. I'm not good with money. I can't focus. I'm not strong. People always leave. Whatever you come up with, right? It doesn't matter what it is. I want you to identify, and I want to back up because the I'm not strong part it's like a double entendre, right? Because I'm not strong means one thing, right? But then the other side of it is I'm strong. I'm a strong person. That means something different, and both of them really, it's not good. So, and if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't know, send me an email, and we can send, and we can put something on the calendar where we can talk about it. Info, I say again, info at totalmindsetshift.com. That's the email, info at totalmindsetshift.com. But anyway, back to the question. After you identify that one belief that you have about yourself, trace it. Who drew that line on your map? And how old were you when they drew it? Is it a fact about the territory or ink from the cartographer who you never questioned? And I think that helps us to identify where some of these struggles that we experience in life came from. See, if it is of utmost importance for us to go back, it is of utmost importance for us to consider some things that we may not have considered before, things that really help you to process, to digest, to understand more about self than you knew prior to. See, if I did not know these things, if I had not considered, if I had not processed, if I had not done the pre-work that we have to do, if we've never done the pre-work, then when it comes down to the outcomes that we experience in life, then we may end up struggling and struggling bad too. So I want us to really think into that question, right? And that question will really help you to process it. Again, pick one belief you hold about your question was, I'm not good with money, I'm not strong, or I'm a strong person. And person can be substituted with your sex. I'm a strong woman, I'm a strong man, whatever that looks like. People always leave. I have trouble focusing. I can't focus, right? All those things. Now trace it. Who drew that line on your map? And how old were you when they drew that line? Now, is it fact or is it just another ink that came from the cartographer who you never questioned? Because I think that now starts putting things into perspective. So I hope this is good for you so far. Again, if it is, make sure that you hit that like button. Make sure that you share this with somebody who you believe will have value in this conversation. Because again, it's not just, we ain't just talking. Listen, we're not just talking for entertainment. If these conversations are entertainment to you, then you're here for the wrong reason. These should be life-changing conversations. That's why I talk about awareness so much, because awareness isn't by itself introspection. Awareness should be revelation. Now, what do I mean when I say that? Well, I want us to recognize that everything that we talked about so far connected to awareness in some degree, right? If the heart is deceitful and the map is distorted, then the instrument used to examine yourself is a broken instrument. I say it again. If the heart is deceitful and the map is distorted, the instrument you use to examine yourself is a broken instrument. So, digging alone in our own darkness produces either denial or despair. That's why self help introspection leaves so many people more anxious, not more free. But if we consider David, right? David had, it was genius in Psalms 139. And he didn't say, I will search my heart. He prayed. He said, search me, oh God, and know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts. And see if there be any wicked in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. Right? That's Psalms 139, verses 23 and 24. Awareness in the kingdom is not a solo excavation. It's a guided tour. You don't dig alone. You invite the light in, held by the hands of mercy. That's the difference between the mirror that condemns and the mirror that heals. And it is why James called the word itself a glass to behold ourselves in. This is why I keep saying you read the word and the word reads you. You'll find that in James chapter, the first chapter. For the first time, and this comes from, and let me show this to y'all because I think, and it's going to scroll, so I want you to kind of hang in there with me. I'm gonna tell it to you. For the first time, I examined myself with a seriously practical purpose, and there I found what appalled me: a zoo of lusts, a bedlam of ambitions, a nursery of fears, a harem of fondled hatreds. My name was Legion, written by C.S. Lewis, Surprised by Joy, 1955. And here's what you must not miss. That appalling look was the beginning of his conversation, not the end of his hope. When God shows you the zoo, it's because he's about to clean the cages. But some of us keep the cage locked. We don't want him to clean the cages, but we have to. We got to allow him to clean it, right? And that kind of leads us into, something very simple. I'm going to let C.S. Lewis' message keep playing for a second. See, UCLA researchers led by Matthew Lieberman found that the simple act of naming an emotion, putting feelings into words, measurably calms the brain alarm center, the amygdala. Science called its effect labeling. David called it search me and know my heart. What gets named loses its power to run you from the shadows. Confession was never God punishing you with honesty. It was God healing you with it. And some of us, we have a fear of confessing. You guys know the scripture. You know what the scripture says. Confess thy sins one to another. That's why testimony has power. That's why it's important that we don't hold on to or protect the thing. We let it go. That's the key. I don't, without question, believe that I don't believe that we don't want to do it. I just think that we struggle with doing it. That's all. So, what's the practical difference between someone morbidly obsessing over their flaws and someone doing holy self-examination? Because they actually can look identical from the outside. How do I know that? Because I've been to church. You've been to church. You've seen it. Some people like to give the impression of self-examination, but what they're doing is they're wearing a costume and they're putting on a show in that moment of time. It's not a long show. It doesn't have to be long. It just has to exist within the time frame in which the show is going on. The practical difference is you being honest and transparent, not trying to hide that which you know exists. See, holy self-examination requires me to lay it on the altar, lay it before the feet of the master, and let him see it. It's not that he don't already know it's there. It's just that I'm willing to relinquish it to him. I'll say it again. It's not that he don't already know it's there. It's that I'm willing to relinquish it to him. Well, morbidly obsessing, I'm focused on it. I'm so focused on it that it's taking over the territory and the regions of my mind. And as I'm looking at this thing, I believe you can see it because that's all I can see. And I don't want you to see it. So therefore, I'm going to say whatever it is I can say in the moment that actually makes you believe that I got it all together. But here's the truth: that doesn't work. You hiding the thing does not hide it from anybody. It reveals it. Your intentionality of behavior, of a particular type of behavior, does not have staying power. That particular type of behavior that you really want to display has to come from the internal of who you are. It has to be who you are. In other words, you must be that person before you can portray yourself as that person. And any other version of that portrayal is easy. Anyone can pick it up. It don't take long either. It's like you're trying too hard. Now, someone heard that and said, okay, I got it. So I just need to try less harder. No, you need to focus on being the person that do the thing and not do the thing hoping that people see you as that person. No, the deeds must validate the being. Okay. So your question that I want you guys to consider, process, digest, recall a moment when someone saw a flaw in you, and instead of shame, you felt safe, maybe even relieved, if you will, because of how they held it. That feeling is a small taste of Psalms 139. Now, have you ever once given God the chance to search you like that? Or have you only ever imagined him searching you like a prosecutor? See, I think that's the key, because we live in a world that put feelings above all things, right? Feelings determine decisions, feelings determine everything. I feel like, right? You hear it in conversation, it has gotten so heavy. But here's the truth of the matter: the way a person holds it is not defined by how you feel. The way a person holds it is defined by what the relationship is. Maybe you've been so, I don't want to say defiant, but resistant to feedback. Maybe at this point, the fact that person's still giving you feedback is probably for your good. And you're not even looking at that. You're not even appreciating it. So I want you to really think into it. I want you to consider all those things. In conjunction with that question, has anybody ever gave me feedback that I actively pushed against? Why do I not see feedback as care? I ask again, why do I not see feedback as love and care? Them caring enough about me to tell me the thing that they see in me so that I can become a better version of me. See, I don't know why we get to the point to where, oh, well, I don't like the way that you gave me feedback, or I don't like that you gave me feedback, or whatever the case may be. I don't understand that. That to me, and again, I get it. My background, I was in the Army for 24 years, and I get it. There have been some things that have been said, and if I paid attention to how it was said, I might not have gotten the information that was vital to me. And so, because I was able to forego the how and pay attention to the what, not saying that the how doesn't matter, but the how matters a lot of times because of the behavior that I displayed. So now the how changes. Does that make it right? No, it just makes it a thing. See, I can't say that my emotions are important and say that yours are invalid. I say again, I can't say that my emotions are important and then say yours are invalid. Both parties' emotions are important. And sometimes you got to recognize that. It's frustrating being connected. I'm being honest. I'm being transparent at this point. It's frustrating when you're dealing with a person and trying to help them and they keep fighting against it. You're trying to help me. I keep fighting against you. No, I don't. Yes, I do. Yes, you do. No, I don't. Yes, you do. Well, why do you say that? I got the evidence. I'm sharing. I'm telling you what I'm seeing. Right. So I just want to say that. So here's the thing. I think we have to get to the point to where we are recognizing that seeing is a discipline. So we have to get to the point of structuring our sight. Now, I think this is an important thing to see, because awareness by virtue of its existence is grace. Let me say again, awareness by virtue of existence is grace. But grace has practices. Nobody drifts into sight. You structure it. I'll say it again. Nobody drifts into sight. You must structure it. That being said, there are three structures that we have to, there are three ways to structure it, three steps to structuring your sight. Number one, the daily question. Once they ask, what am I believing right now that produced this thought? Number two, write it down. The page doesn't flinch and does it flatter. Ink exposes what the deceitful heart edits. Number three, measure it, because the mind grading its own homework is the fox guarding the hen house. An honest instrument from outside your own head, brought before God, is how search me becomes a habit instead of a crisis. I'll go a step further. For those of you who have your pocket coach, take this and give it to your pocket coach. Do these three practices and then give the results to your pocket coach and ask him to help you make sense of it. I'm telling you, like, you would be utterly amazed at what you discover. And I'm going to help. I want to continue to help along that path as well, because I want to give you, all of you, a kind of like a how-to guide of getting the max out of your pocket coach that you can get. This is a great example. Number one, daily question. Number two, write it down. And number three, measure it, right? And measure it is important, because the measurement piece, the findings from the measurement, is what you'll put into your pocket coach. Now, when we keep going forward, because we're getting close on time here, I got to keep my eye on that. Nearly all wisdom we possess, that is to say, true and sound wisdom, consists of two parts: the knowledge of God and of ourselves. That came from John Calvin, the opening line of his Institutes of the Christian Religion, the first sentence of one of the greatest theological works ever written. Not chapter 10, sentence number 1. Knowing God and knowing yourself were never two subjects. They're one curriculum. See, this kind of defines the confusion. Some of us were not raised to know who God the Father is. And because we were not raised to know who God the Father is, we have a very skewed perspective of who we are. See, one leads to the other. It doesn't make sense for me to believe that I can have a good understanding of who I am if I do not understand who my parents are. My mother and my father, the people who gave birth to me, the people who I actually share DNA with. I need to know who they are. I need to know how they think. I need to know their mannerisms. I need to know all of those different things, because that helps to make up my identity. It doesn't define it, it helps me to understand it, right? So now it's two things working at play. It's me understanding who God the Father is, and then them understanding who God the Father is, and then them raising me and teaching me what they understand as it pertains to who he is. Now that gives me a glide path to have a better understanding of who I am. Why? Because you are a spirit. God is spirit. Therefore, there will come a time where those who worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. And all the while, we were going to church and no one ever defined that for us. God is spirit. You are spirit. So I need to be able to see through my spiritual lens. Well, how do I do that? I get it. Come hang out with us for a while. You'll get it. I promise. We're going to get there. See, I think there's an old notion, right? You have to get to the point of inspecting what you expect. See, a meta-analysis of 138 studies led by Benjamin Harkin found that people who monitor their progress are significantly more likely to achieve their goals. And the more frequently they're monitored, the better the outcomes. Measurement isn't extra credit. I say again, it isn't extra credit. It is the credit. Across 138 studies, those studies have shown that it's the difference makers. What gets watched changes. What gets watched changes. Now, What if someone who is hearing all this and says, I've been a believer for 30 years. Are you telling me I still don't know my own heart? The answer to that question is absolutely. That is exactly what I'm telling you. And I know sometimes it's hard to hear. Sometimes it's hard to process. Sometimes it's hard to consider. That just can't be true. Like at the young age of 52, how did it take me X amount of years to get to the point of having an understanding that I have, knowing that even though I have a better understanding of what I've ever had in my entire life, there's still more. So I can't give myself too much credit based upon what I understand. I have to maintain a humble heart moving forward because I know that what I understand is not complete. I thank him for teaching me what I know, but I have to maintain that humble spirit because I belong to him. He's the king. That's how it works. And I get it. I get it. It's frustrating sometimes, but it doesn't have to be. I think we choose for it to be. So for you, in every other area that matters, you accept measurement. The doctor doesn't guess your blood pressure. The bank doesn't estimate your balance. So I guess the question is, why is the one instrument that's building your entire life the only thing you've never once measured? Why is it okay to live life through the lens of subjectivity based upon who you see yourself to be? Is it that we're afraid to know the truth about who I really am? Why does that scare us so much? Why is the one instrument that is responsible for building our life the thing we've never once measured? I don't get that. What has I already know myself protected you from finding out who you really are? And it's interesting because you hear people say, oh, well, you already know who you are. Just do that. Do what's best for you. You don't know what's best for you because you're still trying to figure out who you are. And there's two groups of people. You got the group that know that and the group that's denying that. And the group that's denying that, okay. No judgment. Just being honest. So again, greatly appreciate all of you. And I want to kind of put this back up here just in case you missed it earlier as we get ready to close out, because again, we are at 57 minutes and man, this time has not been slowing down for anyone. I want us to take an honest look. Let's walk it back. Everyone has blind spots. 93% of us think we are the exception. Your heart doesn't just miss things, it guards them. You've been living from a map, not the territory. And every fight you've ever had was two maps arguing with each other. But awareness was never meant to be a solo dig in the dark. It's search me, oh God. It's a revelation. Awareness by itself should be a revelation to me because awareness lives outside of what I know. That's why it is called awareness. And if that revelation by itself is good, if that awareness by itself is good, it is now default a revelation from the Most High God because all good things come from Him. Here's the mirror that I promised you. And if you have not seen it yet, I think I'm about to show you two mirrors now. One is already before you, and the feedback that I'm receiving. Listen, thank you guys. Number one, for purchasing this book. For those of you who purchased this, I want to thank you. Then I want to go an extra step further and thank those who've been giving me feedback about this book. It kind of, number one, I humbly accept it. Number two, it kind of gives me an understanding of what I need to do next for the next one, how I can better serve you with them. And then number three, it comforts me to know that it is serving you. That was kind of like my hang up in the beginning. I wanted to make sure that I was providing you with something that serves you. Okay. And here's the next one. And it's I think it's important because I said I'll show you two mirrors. The mirror is your pocket coach. Some people heard me talk about it earlier. Some people who already know who it is because they were with us this weekend um, for what I believe was an awesome webinar. You're not called to grow your ministry. Don't worry about it. The replay is being released here soon, so when it shows up, you might want to jump on it. You're not called to grow your ministry. This book is definitely good for people who are in leadership positions in the church. I'm just, by all means, get it, get the book, listen to the webinar. You'll also have the opportunity to get the book in the webinar as well, either or, right? It's all designed to help us become a better version of ourselves, the version that he created us to be, not the version that the world convinced you to become simply because it makes you feel good. If you're having trouble because you're on your mobile device and you can't scan the QR code, that's okay. Go to the mindsetcoach.academy/renew, RENEW. The assessment itself is free. I say again, this is the third one, right? This is one. This is I'm mixing up. This is number 2, and the third one is the free assessment, the mindsetcoach.academy/renew. If you already have this, once you do your assessment, take that assessment and make that your number 3 for the part 3 I gave you. That's the measurement. Listen, give this stuff to your pocket coach and watch what he tells you. I mean, I really want to know, is it helpful? Okay. Listen, feelings evaporate, right? I think if we hinge our lives on feelings, then we're just going to continue to be lost, stuck, and confused. But when you have something that is tangible right before you, something that shows you a mirror, something that shows you a mirror, something that shows you a mirror, the mindsetcoach.academy/renew, something that shows you a mirror. This is evidence. Use it to your advantage. Don't just get it and sit on it like it means nothing. Use it to your advantage. The mirror doesn't negotiate. 8 minutes total. The mindsetcoach.academy/renew. 8 minutes total. Listen, go get it. Go take a look at it. Renew your mind. Transform the life. As you already know, my name is Dwayne Dwyer. And next week, we'll be talking dimension number 2, which is all about alignment. Alignment is key. You don't want to miss it. Why your daily life keeps drifting from what you swear matters most and what your calendar knows about you that your mouth will not admit. That being said, people, listen, like I said, it's an honor for me to serve you. It's an honor for me to be here with you every week. Listen, let the best version of yourself be a blessing to somebody else. And we'll see you here next week on Coach's Corner.
Mindset shift, we move. Mindset shift, new groove. Coach's Corner.